Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description.
The VIX now adds a lot of noise, and you have this very steep skew in the S&P options prices right now, and that when you look at 1 month options, which is what 1 month S&P options, that's what the VIX is priced on. Because skew is so steep, the VIX price will jump rapidly up and down because it's sliding up and down this very steep skew curve, and so you can get a lot of noise, or you can oftentimes think like today, VIX is down 20% or whatever it is, and then you look at under the hood at the actual fixed strike vols in the S&P, and you see there's not a lot of movement there, and so in this environment, to get, let's just say, at the money S&P vol down, or like the VIX down towards 20, you need a deal signed, you need a pen to paper, something that we can all grab onto and say, this is truth, this is verifiable. And even if it's a bad deal, right, and it works against us, then the market can start to price that in. But right now, you can't price anything in. There's no, what do you do? And my question about this was like, from my perspective, if vol goes high enough and I can start to say, okay, the risk premium here is really rich, I feel like I have some trading opportunities there. If there's a big pocket of short put positions in the S&P, then that's an area where I think the dealer flows could be supportive of the market. I don't see that till 4,800. That's a number we've been harping on for the last couple of weeks. We sniffed it, in early April, but that's still the level. Nothing's changed there. So even like PEs or fundamentals aren't good. So like, what brings an incremental buyer into this market right now? VIX is not overbought, quote unquote, at current levels, because realized vols at 25 to 30 or even higher, depending on exactly what your time frame is. So, if S&P realized vols at, like, let's say 35 and the VIX is at 30, well, that's telling you that actually implied vol is maybe a little bit too cheap here, right? There's no vol premium, so I don't want to buy off of that. There's no, like if Apple's trading at a 5 forward PE, then maybe I'll just buy it and just duck and cover for a year or something like that. If there was a deal that I could latch onto, then great. But like, where's the value in any kind of discipline at the moment? I can't find it. I'd love to know if where
are you talking from a
spots
macro standpoint? Because Hans can definitely talk on the VIX front. He actively trades that, but as it relates to kind of
across the board, yeah. Give me any signal you got. Like, give me something to believe in.
Yeah, I guess that's what Brent's talking about. Like, what can you hang your hat on, right? We look at PEs, great. Well, what's the E? We don't know what the E is. We don't even know where we're going to be tomorrow. We don't know if they're going to say something different from morning to afternoon. So we're just completely upside down right now. So Brent's sort of wondering, well, what sort of compelled real buyers to start coming back in? I don't know about all this foreign money that's basically gone east for how long now. Does that start to come back at some point? Because I feel like that's got to sort of maybe come back a little bit too. But what really gets people excited about stocks at these levels?
Honestly, a confidence. No, this is easy. This is really, we are all about capital flows and confidence. Mm-hmm. Earnings are ratcheting lower Q1 to Q2. There's no question we're not even done ratcheting lower in earnings. So this is not going to protect bulls, right? It's very much focused on short term, like you said, the dealers chasing. We also have some CTA positioning, which is back at the 2020 lows. And certainly they can come back in and force some rotations, right? Out of stocks into bonds, out of gold into equities. But big picture, capital flows coming back in the US, I think that's done. They're leaving, and there's a reason for that. The administration wants to devalue the dollar, and the devaluation of the falling demand of dollars is ultimately to help US exporters. That's the short-term pain for the long-term gain. Now, the double speak, in other words, or out both sides of their mouth in regards to getting what they want with lower energy prices and yields and dollar. Well, they've got 2 out of 3. They removed kind of the intervention collar as it related to energy price, which was one of the things that they wanted. They wanted to dump the price of crude, which will later serve as a potential stimulus. But for right now, it's also shaking and making the oil and gas industry very nervous. Falling global oil demand, falling global credit demand. This is what's also freezing the market. You saw the bond market absolutely go haywire on April 8th, which is why when our US 10-year jumped to 4.5 and our 30-year jumped to 5%, and that was all based on really some serious selling. They came in and again talked the market down, but it's already, the damage has been done. The tariffs and the trade war communication drama we didn't need. If they would just shut up, we'd be fine. So the fact is, the only way that it's going to reverse, and I've got lots of data that we're not done on the earnings ratcheting lower and on the dollar falling and on yields rising, and basically currency is now conducted outside of, in other words, trade is being conducted outside of the US dollar. They're settling in gold. They're settling amongst themselves. It's outside of the petrodollar. These are big regime changes. So long story short, it's not good for equities. The only thing that would turn this ship around short term would be a Powell capitulation, and longer term would be Trump coming out saying, I was just kidding.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.